At this point in the year, you might be thinking, well, fudge. I am already way off from the goals that I set back in January. But here's why that does not have to be a bad thing. Now is the perfect time to course correct, especially since you probably now have a better feel for how your year is going and feel more grounded about your goals too. So let's talk about how to make sure the rest of this year goes exactly the way you want. First though, you gotta get super honest with yourself. How are things actually going in your business right now? Because some years start off really positive, while others start off a little slow. Both totally normal, but also neither gives you the full picture of how your business is actually going. Personally, I prefer gauging where you're really at by checking in with how you're feeling. For example, does even asking that question make you feel kind of ashamed? Like, man, I started the year with really good intentions, but that just all went out the window. Or does it make you feel inspired because you're looking at all the goals that you already hit in Q1 and you are exactly where you wanted to be? Whatever you're feeling, give yourself the grace to first feel it. Because even with all the strategy and logic in the world, more than anything else, our feelings drive us. So use this as a reminder to take a second and re-visualize the goals that you set for your business back at the beginning of the year. Not only will it re-ground you in making it happen, because it's been scientifically shown that as you imagine the specifics of achieving a goal, it starts feeling so much more real and more possible in your mind. But also, it's a great guide too. Maybe a strategy or a goal that you started the year with just doesn't feel right anymore. Note that, because that's what business is all about. Trying something new, seeing how it lands, and then adjusting accordingly. And now, just about 90 days into the year, is the perfect time to make your first adjustment. But to be clear, if you are having a rocky start to the year and you aren't anywhere near close to where you'd like to be, that is okay. In fact, according to multiple studies, most people tend to forget the goals that they set in January. So much so that by February, over 80% of them have stopped trying. But not because we're lazy or forgetful, because that's how our ancestors were able to survive. Nowadays though, it's simply expressed differently, like ordering a quick DoorDash, even though you have all the ingredients for a healthy home-cooked meal. Or choosing to binge watch Netflix instead of putting in an hour towards a personal project. In the moment, the Netflix and the DoorDash feel more satisfying. I think we've all been there. So don't beat yourself up. That's why we're having a check-in right now, because we're all human. Plus, we are not fortune tellers. You can't predict how a year is going to go. Just look at me last year. In January of 2024, I remember thinking, all right, I am going into 10 years of business. This year is gonna be all about celebration and relaxation. But surprise, surprise, it ended up being the exact opposite. For example, first we realized we had outgrown our email marketing software. A good problem to have, but that meant we had to move all of our backend systems. Then, as a result of doing that, we also had to move our course hosting platform, which was a massive project in of itself because we have over 30 products. On top of all of that, we also had to batch 3 months extra of YouTube content for when my producer went on maternity leave. And by the way, if you've been wanting to batch more content yourself and you are curious how we were able to do all that, we broke it all down in another video that I will link for you somewhere around here. The point is, instead of trying to predict how an entire year is gonna play out, it's much better to ask yourself, now that I've reflected on my first 90 days, what do I want to do in the next 90 days? And note how we're specifically phrasing this question because that makes a big difference. Another thing that our brains are biologically programmed to do is to think super linearly. But in business, that's not how things usually go, which is why you might feel like you're behind or that nothing is working. You're not, and it is. It's just that things might not look exactly the way that you expect, and in the beginning especially, that can feel super discouraging. But the key to overcoming this is to not make yourself a victim, because there is always something that you can do to change your reality. So instead of focusing on things that you can't control, like unfortunately the amount of sales calls that you get, instead, keep your focus on what you can control. So with your sales calls, you can't force people to sign up for calls with you, but you can control how many potential clients you reach out to, the consistency and quality of your marketing content, and the effectiveness of your sales process. The point is, you are in control, so high five to that. You've just got to focus on the right metrics. That being said, when you are in the weeds of building your business, it can be so easy to get sucked into the day-to-day stuff and lose your direction. For example, you might think, hey, I am posting social media content every day. Yes, I am making progress. But is what you're doing actually getting you results, like helping you get clients? Or is it just checking off something on your to-do list? Use this as an opportunity to take a step back and look at the big picture. What needs to be improved? This way, you also avoid playing out the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over, yet expecting different results. I think most of us have been there, myself included, so let's check in. Are the things that you've been doing getting the progress that you want? If not, let's break it down. Do you need to just do them better, or maybe for a little longer? Or is it time to change things up? If you're not sure, one of my favorite exercises for getting clarity here is to revisit your word or theme of the year. For example, a few years ago, my word of the year was profitability. And if you haven't chosen one yet, it's not too late. Pick a word that makes the most sense for you and your business right now, because it's going to help you get more focused on your big picture goal and by default, your day-to-day tasks as well. And once you do, you can use that word as a filter for every item on your to-do list. Is this task contributing to my word for the year? If it's not, delete it. Because the more you focus on things that aren't serving your big picture goal, the further away those things are going to take you from your goal. Next, if your task is something that aligns with your word or theme, but it isn't necessarily something that you need to do, then see if you can delegate it. Is there someone more qualified to do this task so that you can pay someone else to do it and free up your own time to focus on the things that only you can do? AKA the things to which you can confidently say, yes, this moves my business towards my big picture goal for the year, and only I can do them best. I really hope you found that helpful, because it's so easy to get lost in the doing and the tactics. But without the right mental, emotional, and strategic foundation, we can so easily end up wasting our time and still not getting the results that we want. So I'd love to hear from you. How has your year gone so far? And what was your biggest takeaway from this video? I would love to hear one thing that you are going to apply from this video to help you grow even more this next quarter.